Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarehitam Sadgurum Tam. So, yesterday I won't give any introduction today. All questions and answers tomorrow. So you'll get some time. So yesterday we were awake, right? We dealt with the waking state called Jagrata Avastha. As I explained to you yesterday, I saw music just now. So, Shapt Brahman is also supreme. Anyway, so the Mandukya Upanishad describes, we discussed yesterday, the three states of consciousness which are common to all human beings, and the fourth which is not common to all human beings. So we did one yesterday, Jagrata Avastha, which is waking state, and then we went on to the next, which is the dream state. Waking state is common to all of us. We also discussed that even the waking state, even though it's common to us, may not be what it appears to be. Quite often, yes, but many times not. I hope you remember that discussion. Yes or no? Yes. Then we went on to the Swapna Avastha, which is called Tejasa, because it is lit. Even though there is darkness there is no light there. It's lit by itself spontaneously. Then we also discussed how the Swapna or the Tejasa, which is again common to all human beings, appears real when it happens, but is not real when it is not happening. Which means in dreams are very, very real. In fact, sometimes in dreams, people get messages which may be almost as real as waking state. Almost, not fully. And therefore, when in that state, we all believe, you and I, not me, that we are experiencing reality. Now, in waking state also, we have something which is very similar to Swapnavastha, dream state, and that is daydreaming and imagination. We are awake, we think everything is real, but actually when we look at somebody or interact with somebody, we are looking at that person only through the dark glasses that we wear, based on the conclusion we have drawn about that person. Again, it is not real in some way. I am sitting here, right? Many of you must have read the autobiography or other writings or seen YouTube or podcasts and so on. So you have already formed an opinion about me, roughly. And also the fact, I don't know why, because I usually see mostly women coming closer to me, for God knows why. And Not that I do anything about it, but maybe if the teacher is female, men will go, I don't know. But it's like that. And they look at us through an image created in their minds, which based on various factors. So therefore, when you look at me, I'm okay, I'm not saying seva bhava is there, I think, more with the other sex, maybe. As long as it remains seva bhava, it is all right. Anyway, so you have formed an image of me already. Even if you have not read my books, yesterday you saw me, I spoke, so you formed some image. Yes. And now this happens more if you are familiar. If I see you for the first time, I still haven't formed an image. Unless you are dressed in such a way that I conclude that you are something else, and then I base my interaction on that. But if I know you for some time, I have formed an image about you. Generally I am saying, okay, I have no images about anybody. I formed an image about you. So when you are communicating with me, or you think you are communicating with me, and I think that I am communicating with you, actually there is no communication. You know why? Because the image you have about me and the image I have about you, these images are communicating. There is no communication. Hope you get what I am trying to say. If that communication beyond images happens, then you immediately understand what I am trying to say. Experience, because then what is in me is also in you, so immediately it flashes. But that is not the way things are. So even in waking state, there are imperfections. I'm not saying that waking state is perfect. Plus, the imperfection that in dream state, all my waking state things vanish. There is only the dream. I may be Chandragupta Vikramaditya in the dream. Then there is no M there. So therefore, it is real only as long as it lasts. Okay. Now, if you think, oh, that is only for short periods, but there is continuity. Yesterday we discussed continuity, right? What did we say? That a person who goes to sleep and dreams, when that person wakes up, it's still the same person. Not the person in yesterday's dream. Today. Today I may dream that I am somebody else. There is no continuity there, although it is so real. But this continuity as I am dreaming that I am the king or I am the whatever, that doesn't change. That continuity comes back when I am awake, not so in the dream. That is the main difference between dream and deep sleep. Waking state. But please, don't take the waking state also to be as real as you think it is. We discussed that yesterday. What you see of the world, what I see, what you see, is the image of the world presented to us by the five senses, from which the data is gathered, and the mind manufactures what you think is real. And therefore, if the mind manufactures what I think is real based on its past experiences and so on, if the mind as we know it ceases to exist, there is no world. Even in waking state. It exists, yes, I agree. It exists when the dream state is not there. Waking state exists. But even this waking state is a result of the inputs, let's say data, gathered by the five senses and processed and made into an image. This is what we think is the reality. And therefore it could be, although you would say that this is real, your idea of this being real may be different from my idea of this being real. They differ. Therefore, even the waking state, okay, the other. Now we are sitting here for the last, from yesterday and today. Tomorrow also we are going to sit here. So this is the waking state. It is very real. After 80 years, are we still going to sit here? By 80, even a few years. What if I go out today and on the way I get into the car, I get a massive heart attack? Suppose. I'm sure I'll come back tomorrow, I'm just saying. Then, where is me? Where is M? You thought there was a continuity, M was real. M is not real, Yama is real. Comes at any time, any place, and people who are there, they vanish. So even the waking state is not as permanently real as we think. It's also temporary. Just as you pass from dream to wakefulness, you pass from wakefulness to the state which is called death, which actually is a movement from one state to another. The story goes, when Sri Ramakrishna passed away, apparently in those days, in Bengal, widows used to break their bangles and rub off their sindoor on the third day, something like that. So he passed away and everybody was unhappy and grieving and so on. On the second night, the third day this was supposed to happen generally. The second night, Sharada Devi, the Holy Mother, had a very... the dream was so real that she got frightened. She thought that he has come back from the dead. So and in the dream, Thakur came and told her, listen, why are you being silly? Who said you are a widow? Why are you going to break your bangles and rub your sindoor? I have just gone from this room to another room. That's all. So how can you be a widow? Will you be a widow if I move to another room? So it was so real that she decided not to either break her bangles or rub her sindoor off. So till the end you will find her with a sindoor and bangles. So even the waking state, even though we think it is the most real, is still temporary. And this we come to know only when there is a sudden death, or when we are really sick that we think we are not going to recover. Then we come face to face with this reality that what we thought is reality is not so permanent, it's still temporary. So this is the waking state. Now dream state, you know that every now and then it goes and comes. While it exists, it is real. Then when it is not existing, it is not real. But please understand, both in waking state and dream state, there is a witness. That witness is real. It is always seeing, always reacting, always. Without that witness, there can neither be waking state nor dream state. When you are unconscious, that witness is not seen. When you are conscious, it is there. Okay. Now we come to the third, which the Upanishad calls Sushupti. So ah, the sound of ah is the waking state. The O is the dream state, Tejasa. And Om, the Ma, is Sushupti. Sushupti, says the Upanishad, is a state where one is fast asleep. Yatra supto nakam na kana kamam na kamayate na kamachanas. I'm wondering why the things are not clear. I know why. Yatra supto na kamchana kamam kamayate na kamachana swapnam pashyati tat sushuptam sushuptasthana ekibhutaha prajnagana evanandamayo anandabhuk cheto mukha pranas tritiya pada. Now the third part, which is Om, says the Upanishad, is what is called deep sleep, Sushupti, where one does not desire any desire whatsoever, one does not see any dream whatsoever in deep sleep. This is called the prajna. And it is blissful state, deep sleep, full of bliss, and in which one is enjoying the bliss. But one is not aware at that point. See what Sushupti is? When you go to sleep, first there is this sleep called the REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. You know why the eyes are moving? Because they are seeing dreams. After that, you get a short period, which is Sushupti, where there is no dream whatsoever. Now just imagine what happens in sleep. You don't know who you are. You don't know where you are. Very often people get so sleepy, they go to sleep somewhere and when they wake up, they think, oh God, I slept here because you are so sleepy. And you are neither aware of any outward thoughts or outward images, nor are you aware of anything inward like dreams. Nothing exists. And when I wake up, I feel rejuvenated. You know why? Mostly because then I don't know who I am. When I am awake, not me, but generally, if I walk into, say, a marriage and nobody recognizes me, usually people say, God, they didn't recognize me. Because they know, they have an image about themselves, right? And that image is not being recognized, so you feel very upset. But when you're asleep, what image is there? Nothing is there. You're gone. And a dream is like a rehearsal for the final sleep. This is why when you sleep and get up, people brush their teeth and wash their face. And if you had continued for 10 days, you would have smelt like a dead body. So Colgate has put nice smells into the paste and so on. So this sleep where you are not aware of the outer world or the inner world, even your awareness has disappeared in deep sleep. Now that is Sushupti. Now just watch this. The owner of a business and the worker who works for him both go to sleep at some point. And in sleep, they are equal. Nobody is the owner and nobody is the worker. Everybody is sleeping. They are all equal. When you get up, it changes, of course. But at that point, we are the same. And even though while we are deeply asleep, we don't feel we don't know that we are sleeping, except when we wake up. There seems to be something very blissful in deep sleep. We all know how many times we might have put off the alarm and gone to sleep again. I put off my alarm at 5, it rings. It's so blissful, I wake up. All the bliss is about to go, then I said 5 minutes more, go to sleep. Everybody has this experience. Why? Because there seems to be a very blissful existence going on in deep sleep, although at that point I'm not aware. But if it was a deep sleep, then when I wake up, I always say, oh, that was such a blissful sleep. So there is a bliss happening there, which is free of all connections, which needs no object to be feeling bliss. Normally, in waking state and in dream state, we need an object to feel happy, blissful. Like I eat ice cream. I need ice cream, right, to enjoy. I don't eat, I'm saying. Or in the dream, I'm enjoying something that I love. There is an object that I'm enjoying. Now in deep sleep, there is no object, there is no cognition. One is not even enjoying a vision or a dream. And yet there seems to be total bliss. At that point I am not aware, but when I wake up, my memory says, that was so blissful, so I don't want to get up. That's why Sunday people sleep late, because let me enjoy a little more. Why? Because then you are in your true essence. Which doesn't mean that sleep is the highest thing to be attained. Then who will work on sadhana of sleep? Rather have sleeping pills and go to sleep. Sleep, Sushupti, is explained in the Upanishad only to show you that there is such a state possible in a human being, where it is entirely blissful, where it is not aware of anything other than that bliss. But then at that point, we are not even aware of that bliss. It's only when you wake up that you remember, that was blissful. And in that interim period between sleep and waking up, or from waking up when you are about to sleep, sometimes you feel that blissfulness. You don't want to get up. You're going to lie down and sleep. The phone rings, you're about to get into that bliss. I don't want to pick this up. But once deeply it catches you, it's over. You don't remember anything. But that you remember means there was this bliss before, when you were falling asleep. Now that is not entirely Om, right? When you say Om, it's like Om. Nobody says Om. It's like a bark. Om. See the last part of Om? It's the Ardhamatra, which means when you ring a bell, how the sound of the bell goes deep, continues, even though it becomes weak, but you can still hear it going on for a long time before it stops. This is called Ardhamatra. That is the crescent on the top of Om with a dot. That the Upanishad calls as Turiya. Now what is this Turiya? Now about Sushupti, the Upanishad says, Esha Sarveshwara, Esha Sarvajna, Esho Antaryami, Esha Yonihi, Sarvasya Prabhavapyayohi Bhutanam. This is the Lord of all, this is the knower of all, this is the inner controller, this is the source of all, this is the beginning and the end of all beings. This is about Sushupti. Only thing is, the being doesn't know it at that point. That's the only difference. It is the beginning of all, it is the end of all, it is the source of all being and the end of beings. Why do you call it end of beings? Because in deep sleep your life has ended temporarily. When you wake up, it has started again. So it is the essence of your being, but you're not aware of it at that point. Now consider a state. Consider, just imagine for the time being a state where all this, I don't want to call it symptoms, all the, what do you call that? Features. All the features of deep sleep are there, but there is also the awareness of it. It's as if in Sushupti one woke up and experienced Sushupti as you are experiencing the waking state. Suppose this possibility. Suppose. That is called Turiya. That is not common to most people. Why is it not common to us? Because in the waking state and in the dream state, we have so many desires to fulfill. So the mind is always going behind these desires. Therefore, in Sushupti, it's not able to recognize the silence of Sushupti because it is always trying to find something outside to satisfy itself. So when a being becomes purified, in the sense that he or she has no desires to fulfill, how? Having understood that after all, fulfillment of desire is basically looking for happiness and looking for bliss. Slowly one is beginning to discover in spiritual practice that the happiness, the bliss that you seek is inside rather than outside. When one is firmly established in that, the beginning is difficult because one thinks, oh, then what will happen to the world? Nothing happens to the world. When one begins to realize this in depth, then one is not free of desire. Like when you are hungry, you want to eat. I mean, that is normal. That is the animal desire of the human body. But desires like, if I don't get this, it's terrible. There are people who think that if they can't stay for more than 10 days in a place. Why? Because I can't get idli and sambar here. I mean, eat chapati, eat chawal, eat anything. No, but I'm not happy. Or, I'm not happy because I could not, this particular girl I wanted didn't fall for me. There are hundreds of girls in the world, but why? Because I'm obsessed. Why? Totally obsessed. When all these obsessions move, because we know that they are useless, absolutely useless. When you realize this, and when you are not obsessed, when the mind becomes free, there are other kinds of obsessions also. Nowadays, there is another kind of obsession. You know what is sannyas? Sannyas is to give up all ambitions, not easy, very difficult. But nowadays you find people taking sannyas to become the heads of the matha. Where is the desire gone? I know many instances of people who took sannyas just before, I'm not naming anybody, the previous head passed away because they thought otherwise somebody else will become the head. And then there is this desire, like I have projected an image about myself. And I have fear that this image is going to break, that somebody may discover something that will break, fear. Or I have told a lie at some point. Many years have passed. Now this problem with a lie, if you tell a lie, you'll have to add other lies to support it. Till it becomes a huge heap of lies, and all the time there is fear that the first lie might be discovered. This also doesn't give any peace of mind. This is also a desire. So living in this, an ambition for power is another desire. I may give up the world. Well, I know cases of people who go out and stand in a place so that so many people will touch their feet, because otherwise they won't sleep properly. Even these are the subtle ambitions that one has, desires that one has. One thought one has given up the world, but then there are other things to fulfill, and I'm caught up in that. Suppose consider a state where I'm not caught up with anything. You and I, we can do it actually. Well, I live in the world because I have a setup, but deep down I know that this is not everlasting, it can go at any time. And therefore I have to do my duties, but I'm not getting caught up by any of these things. And therefore I'm happy with my food and my house. I'm not saying you should go and lie down and sleep in the railway station. No, I have done that, but I'm not saying you should. When the mind therefore frees itself and becomes pure and clear, then even if you go into deep sleep, that deep sleep is not deep sleep. It will turn into Turiya. Why? Because it is crystal clear, and then something happens which normally you cannot even say will happen, that you wake up in the midst of Sushupti and see that there is a witness and there is nothing to witness actually. This is Sushupti. This is Turiya. This is the state when the mind becomes completely clear, pure, waveless. When such a person goes to sleep, that sleep is not ordinary sleep. He need not even go to sleep, because even in normal waking state, it remains. So if one has touched that which is called Turiya, which is the sound of the last part of Om, then in waking, in dream, in deep sleep, and when none of these things are there, still it exists as a calm, blissful state. It is not a state, because it is the experiencer itself. It is the witness of all that is happening in this world. For this, I have to go. Then Turiya will come. So we start with small ways of removing the I. All the things called tapasya, sadhana, they all mean to remove this. It's not as a ritual. To this wrong identification that I have with myself, that I am this limited individual. I have this face, I have this body. When this identification ceases, then the mind in its complete restful state experiences the Ma, the Ardha Matra of Om, which is called Turiya. So people usually ask, why is it that everybody doesn't experience? Everybody can. You don't need any special thing to experience it. However, since our minds are so caught up in other things, it's not possible to loosen it from that. This is the only problem. And sometimes it happens in rare instances, even spontaneously, but disappears immediately, because then you start classifying it. Let me explain this. One day I get this feeling that I must go up to the terrace in the night. I walk up, I go to the terrace. I open my eyes. Suddenly, I see a beautiful full moon up there. For a second, even I don't exist. There's only the moon. You can say, now that is close to Turiya. Not even closed eyes meditation. Have you ever seen the great Ramana Maharshi with closed eyes? Have you seen any picture? Because there was no need to close his eyes. The inside and the outside were the same. Okay. Now here I go up and I see the full moon. Actually, I'm in the essence of my being because for time being I've forgotten myself. There's only the moon. This lasts for just 1 second or 1 minute because the habit is there in my mind by which comparison starts. I look at the moon, I say, oh, this is beautiful. Then I say, well, in 2011 I saw one moon while I climbed up the terrace. This moon is gone. The joy of suddenly seeing this moon is completely disappeared. I'm comparing that. In 2010, I saw one moon, and that moon, then this moon is gone. So, why is it? This is the reason why we don't, even in nature, come face to face with Turiya. Because we compare. Okay, let me look at it from another angle. There is a statement, one Upanishad like Mandukya, you might have to bring in other Upanishads to explain, 12 verses. There is an Upanishad called Ishavasya Upanishad. Now, in the Ishavasya Upanishad, now I have to search for it. There is one statement which has puzzled most people. I've asked for explanations, I've sat and talked about it. Even with some very learned people, we get into trouble because they explain it in a different way. Does anybody know where this is? Okay. Ninth sloka? Ninth sloka, is it? No, I'm looking for Ishavasya. Yeah, ninth. You're right. I want to go there. How can there be duality, Turiya? Where is I? If there is I, there is no Turiya. You cannot count. There is no coming back or going in Turiya. Once it is touched, it is always there. It's not samadhi, savikalpa. Something which one touched, if the body has a compulsion to wake up, it will still wake up, but the Turiya will not go. In waking state, it will be in Turiya. This is important to note. Which is why, as I said some time back, Ramana Maharshi did not even close his eyes to meditate, because he did not need to do that. He didn't want to come off from the waking state. It is there once understood. I won't even say experience, because there is no experiencer. Or rather, there is only the witness, nothing to witness. I mean, it's something funny. We can't understand it more than this. This is why some Upanishad declares, Yan manasa namanyute yanahur manomatam, that which even the mind cannot conceive of. That alone, tadeva brahmatvam vidvi nedam yaddidam upasate, nothing that you worship here. So, 565, what sloka did you say? Did you study the Ishavasya?
I don't know Sanskrit, I can't read that.
No, but did you study?
I didn't
Oh my. I thought you were going to tell me something interesting. Anyway. Now, the 9th sloka of the is right. Did you say 9?
Yes.
Yeah, so you listen carefully. Listening is so important. Generally, we think we listen, but we don't listen. You know why? Because the mind is crowded with so many ideas and so many comparisons. So we really don't. Listen is different from hearing. We can hear many things, but we may not be listening to it, right? So anyway. So the 9th sloka of Ishavasya Upanishad, all Upanishads are interconnected. Bear this in mind. Where the Upanishad says, Andham tava pravishanti yo avidyayam upasate, clear? Tato bhuya ivate tavoya vidyayam rata. Which means, into blinding darkness enter those who worship ignorance. Now everybody will shake their head. Yes, yes, true, true, true. We should not worship ignorance. We are entering into darkness by worshipping ignorance. Everybody seems to understand this. They'll say, yeah, that is true. I'm knowledgeable. I don't worship ignorance. And then comes the bomb. Tato bhuya yivate tamo vidyayam rata. And those who delight in knowledge enter into still greater darkness. Why has this been said? Are they trying to fool us? Are they playing with words? Why? If you understand this, you will connect it to Sushupti. And Sushupti is where there is no knowledge of anything except the witness. The mind as we know of it is absent. There is some outline of a mind there, which is a temporary kind of thing, which can be blown off by the wind. Otherwise it cannot even speak. Not mind as we know of. A mind which is free of all vrittis. That is where Patanjali and Sankhya get into the picture. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Getting rid of all the vrittis of the mind. When the mind is free of all vrittis, it no longer remains an ordinary mind. It is a mind which is understanding what is Turiya. Not Sushupti, sorry, Turiya. So now this. The Rishi says that he who worships ignorance gets into darkness. This we all think is right. In the next step we don't agree. Why? He who worships knowledge enters into greater darkness. We'll look at it carefully from different points. One is, the moment I have calcified my mind by saying I know, we don't enter anything, we don't allow anything original to enter it. Plus, filled with theoretical knowledge that we gather in our brains, we think that we know it. Theoretically, yes, but we really don't. The Mundaka Upanishad describes this. Those who have studied a lot, but therefore because they have studied, they think that they know. Because they think they know, they start leading and guiding others. Mundaka calls that kind of leading andhaine vanyamana yatandaha, the blind leading the blind. Don't think Shakespeare invented it. 2000 years ago. Andhaine vanyamana yatandaha, blind leading the blind, both will fall into a ditch. Now this is the very understandable statement. Because we are so filled up with theoretical knowledge. Even creativity suffers because we are already full of things. We don't allow a fresh ray of light to come in because it is all darkened by what we have learnt. Okay, that is one. But there is a deeper element in this. And that is, we manufacture everything in our minds based on our past. Your past may be one, my past may be another. So the same thing I might look at in two different ways. And you see how thought comes and goes? We might think that thought is a continuous chain. Actually, it's not a continuous chain. It's made of links. In the olden days in the cinema, you used to have the film. Each frame captured a moment, a part of the moment. Suppose now it is digital. In the olden days, if I want to lift my hand like this, if I lift my hand like this, in one frame it's like this, in another frame it's like this, another frame it's like this, another frame is like this. And when at a certain speed the film is projected, it becomes one continuous action. Fortunately or unfortunately, our thought chain is like that. One thought comes, it disappears immediately into the past, and another thought comes, replaces it. It's so fast, the junction between these two, that we think it's a continuous chain. At some point I realized that these are two chains, and before one chain is gone and another comes, I can find the junction. I won the game. Okay, the third point. They're talking about Vidya and Avidya, which means knowledge and ignorance. What is knowledge? What do we mean by knowledge? Just think about it. Suppose I don't know anything about... again we found this here. Suppose we... Nice, I like it. Tomorrow when I go, maybe I'll put it in my pocket. Maharaj is not here today. Suppose I say that I have the knowledge of this, which means before that I did not have knowledge of this. First time I see it and I look at it and I say, this is a, what is it, octagon? Hexagon. This is a hexagonal piece of glass which is colored green, and therefore it's a paperweight. This much knowledge I have gathered. In the beginning I didn't know, now I have gathered. This is a paperweight. In fact, just now I thought it could be a paperweight. I was wondering why it is there. Anyway, paperweight, I've gathered this knowledge. Now, when I say I have knowledge of this, it simply means that first I did not have knowledge, then I discovered what it is, then having discovered it, I remembered it, I put it in my memory. Right? And when I say I have a knowledge of this, I am able to recover that memory at any point. That's what it means. So the knowledge of this now is a memory with me in one of the cubby holes here, which can be drawn at any point. And if I can do it immediately, then I have a knowledge of this. If I cannot, then I am still struggling with it. Now this is the case with any knowledge. When I say I have knowledge of something, it simply means that I have now understood it, I have memorized it, it is in my memory, and I can draw it out at any time I want. This is the meaning of saying I have a knowledge of something. So now it means every knowledge that I have, therefore, could be scriptural or it could be scientific, is a memory. And have you heard of any present memories or only past memories? Do you know of any present memory? All memories are in the past. Therefore, all knowledge being a memory is in the past. Now, the truth, if it is there, the Upanishad declares, Isha Vashyamidam Satvam. This supreme, all-pervading reality is here now, not in memory, not in future, right now. So all knowledge that we, even about this, what we are talking now, is immediately stored in the memory, and therefore it's a thing of the past, and therefore when I am full of that, I cannot touch the present. And the truth is ever present now, not something to be discovered after I die, when I go to heaven, no, it's right now here. Which is why the Upanishad declared that all knowledge being a memory, those who pride themselves on the fact that I have full knowledge are still stumbling in the darkness, because the truth is present here and now. It doesn't have to become a memory. I hope we are somewhat trying to understand these things. Let us say that we are somewhat trying to. If you say, I have knowledge of this, we are again entering Andham Rama Pravishantiyo Vidyayam Upasate. Those who worship knowledge. Knowledge is necessary in this world for various things, but even knowledge is necessary to understand what we are trying to say. But once understood, its need is gone, it's over. Like there is in the Mandukya Upanishad, in the Mundaka Upanishad, a rishi goes to a householder who is a greatly advanced soul and asks him, and he says to him, listen, there are two kinds of knowledge, Para Vidya and Apara Vidya, higher knowledge and lower knowledge. So the student asks the teacher, so can you describe this to me so that I will look for the higher knowledge and not for the lower knowledge? So can you give me a list of the lower knowledge, Apara Vidya, so that I can find out what is Para Vidya? You will be shocked at the list. And this is Shruti, okay? Nobody is supposed to change the Shruti. The list is like this. Lower knowledge. Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda, Jyotisha, and so on and so forth. So this guy is terrified. He says, this is what I thought was knowledge. So he said, then what is higher knowledge? The teacher says, higher knowledge is that which leads you to the truth. Now, wait a minute. Now this is where people say, oh, because the rishi said that, we shouldn't read anything. Why? Because it is all lower knowledge. No, wait a minute. If you didn't read this, how will you know this is what was said? So don't be in a hurry to discard. Watch carefully. If the Upanishad was not read, how does one know this? So it's not that you should not read it or you should not study it. It simply means even after you study all the Vedas, you still do not know how to find the truth. It is still lower knowledge. This is the meaning. On the other hand, if a person has not read any of these, but has reached there, it's still the higher knowledge. It cannot change. Wait. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was almost just could sign his name. Great Vedantists, including Swami Vivekananda, are his students. Where did he get his wisdom from? Paravidya, knowledge of the truth. Remember, Mirabai did not study anything. Where did she get her experience from? One-pointed attention and total love for what she worshipped. She didn't know anything. I'm not saying you shouldn't know script. I studied, Babaji made me go through everything. Because if I didn't, I would not be able to talk to you this. I may be sitting in one corner, absorbed in myself. So, which university did Ramana Maharshi go to? What did he study? Later on, when he sat down and some of the Upanishads and other things were read, Agamas were read, He used to listen for 2 minutes and say, this is what happened to me. Because he did not even touch Apara, he went straight to Paravidya. I'm saying this is possible, but please go through Apara to Paravidya. Sometimes you might miss the bus, that is why. So now we need to stop. 1 hour, 5 to 6. It's 6 o'clock. It's about time the usual monkey mind starts moving. So, tomorrow I will come back. We will review the Upanishad once more from Shloka 1 to Shloka 12, and then we will have some time for questions. So again I am suggesting that please write the questions in a paper, and somebody will collect the questions and you give it to me. Even if it becomes 1.5 hours or 2 hours, I won't mind. I will sit down and try to answer your questions. But please remember that the most important thing is Paravidya. Which is what? One's earnest and sincere desire to find the truth, which is not sullied by any personal attachments whatsoever. Thank you. Hari Om Tat Sat. Narayana.